Hey, welcome everyone back to the channel. It's Carlos. And in this video, we're going to be talking about AI and should we start to panic as artists? Should we start to panic? And every time the world starts losing its balance, I have to call in the what do you, I don't even know what I'm trying to say.
I know I'm pretty amazing. Happens.
I have to call in the reinforcements. So you
Hmm.
guys, you guys have, you guys know him. You guys love him. You guys, welcome to the channel, Charlie B. Williams the third.
Hey, what's up, Carlos? Talking to
Hey.
deal with the place here. I don't know if I've been on the channel before, solo like this as a guest. This is awesome. Good to see you,
Yeah,
man.
good to see you too. Um, so let's just catch everyone up with basically why why should we listen to you? People come to my channel and they know that, I'm
Hmm.
gonna talk and blah blah blah. And they know my
Yeah,
background and stuff. But fill them in on your background.
yeah. So once again, my name's Charlie B. Williams III. It's a very long title, but it's awesome. And I'm a CG general, CG director in experiential and real time, meaning game development. I've done that for the past over 15 years. Started off in game development, had a 10-year stretch in that, then moved into um, teaching as well as freelance and consulting work, and then have about an 8-year stint in experiential, as a CG director, leading a 3D department in a more of an agency setting, working with creative directors and dev departments in any manner of XR type of work. It could be VR, AR, virtual production, regular motion graphics, being a CG supervisor for those type of projects and helping out the motion graphics artists and the creative directors and doing all the management, all that stuff in between. So yeah, that's me.
That's cool. And just to clarify a little bit, when he says experiential, that means, and jump in, Charlie.
Yeah, sure.
Um, Basically, when you guys go to, say, a ballpark or a museum and you see the interactive stuff,
Yeah.
Charlie uses his 3D skills to bring all that stuff to life.
Yeah, it could be anything, any gathering of a group of people or at a company that they're gonna show off have clients come in and look at their work. It can be experience centers, it can be museum exhibits, it could be LED installations, meaning if you've ever seen the cool LEDs in Times Square or in a business or at the mall or wherever. So it runs the gambit of where you can do uh, interactions, if you will, in a public space or in a private space. So, or it can be digitally, right? So that means anything online. So if there's a broadcast that happens online, if there's a really cool interactive website that has streaming or anything like that, if it's any kind of, it's amalgamation of game development, VFX work, animation, and motion graphics, and good old graphic design and agency
Hmm.
type of work, all mixed together to interact for different users in different
Or for their
environments
products and stuff like that.
and products. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cool. So Charlie is one of my go-to guys whenever the world starts to freak out about AI. Because and just to let you guys know, I'm going to reach out to more people to have longer conversations or keep this conversation going to
Hmm.
see to actually like try to figure out, is it something that we should be afraid of or is it something that we need to learn how to leverage? Um, so yeah, so I'm going to be reaching out to different people to see everything from like illustrators to designers to all that stuff, to figure out again, like, should we be looking forward to what's happening? Um, Charlie, real quick,
Yeah.
or take as much time as you want.
Hmm.
Um, Start explaining your stance as far as AI and how it relates to the art community.
So. this is like a kind of a hotbed topic among artists, and my viewpoint is with any new technology, I always try to leverage and figure out how I can use it as a tool and it not be a full compensation for me doing art myself. So that's kind of how I've been looking at it. It does get scary with all the new technology advancing and how easy someone can do it from a one button click to an art prompt to a sentence you can put in. I think AI as a technology is not the issue. I think it's how we are like creating that legislation and how we're using it in terms of companies and usually when you have money involved, that's where it always goes wrong, and I think that, the way companies are using it right now and not giving artists choice whether to opt in and opt out of how they're using this newfound technology in their companies. Bottom line is what's the issue is, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
not being able to, opt out of not having any of my work on a said website be scraped for AI and it just being done without my permission is totally wrong. Is the But using the application in terms of if you're being able to control the data set yourself, meaning use my own data set, my own images, my own drawings, my own photography I take, and then putting it into a closed system that you would probably better off having on your desktop and stuff like that, so you can control it, and then using it yourself, so that
Mm-hmm.
everything you've done in it can be good, and making sure that programs and companies that make programs that allow you to use your own data set or use data set that is just like we have stock photography that is royalty free and all that good
Mm-hmm.
stuff to be able to scrape these different things. I think that's the way you need to go. And there's a couple companies out there that do that now, be it Shutterstock, they use that
Mm-hmm.
data set that's already royalty free and stuff like that to be able to do the same thing. Getting rid of that dirty data set is the biggest thing and it's hard to do. And I get it's a nuanced thing, but
And
I'm all
just
for you for that.
to like bring it down to layman's terms, when Charlie says data sets, he basically means the artwork that's training the AI, right?
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. So
And
any of
so
the
I
models out
think
there, they need artwork to train it, or they need some sort of like vast amount of image databases in order
yeah.
to train it so that when you put in a sentence, it knows what you're talking about, or so that when you're like creating creating said prompt or video, they know the AI knows what it's looking at, and it's not stupid.
Yeah. And I think you said something earlier that I think people don't realize, that there are actual packages or pieces of technology that um, that you can run, that you can train with your artwork.
Hmm.
You don't necessarily, it's not necessarily just corporate America coming to take your artwork and make your artwork available, even though you're not making that artwork.
Yeah, for sure. There's
Because
there's a, there's a,
I think that's the
there's
point
there's a
where
couple. Yeah.
I think that's the point where they go too far.
Hmm.
Um, is when they help themselves to the work that we have created to train a thing to do what we are supposed to do.
Yeah, yeah. Because like I think one of the things I'm seeing now, and even with the whole thing that's happening with Instagram and the new app that came out, Cara, that allows us to
Mm-hmm.
put our images up and portfolios up on a AI free website that won't be scraped and stuff like that. The point that's being missed is that like uh, when companies make these products, which is I think it calls for more of a accountability on the company's part and us as consumers, is that like we always like the one button satisfaction of having a
Mm-hmm.
nice shiny interface. And like one of the things that was interesting about AI when it first came out is that like it was a little complicated to figure out, because when you if you use some of the early tools that didn't have a nice interface, you had to put a little code in, you had to like figure out, or you use a AI system like Comfy AI that like is more of node based, so it's not as straightforward, and people don't really venture down that path because it's not straightforward, and the layman's people out there that don't use 3D or don't do art like that don't have a make art button. It gets a little hard. But now that like there's so many companies coming out there with the nice sleek
With
interfaces,
a
you
literal make art button.
yeah, that you literally have to then research more to understand what software you're actually using, and is it going to hurt you in the long run or help you, you know.
Yeah.
I also want to say that they're outside of generative AI, right? The process of making some sort of piece of artwork, or the video, the video to text and all that good stuff. There's other forms of AI that just help with automated practices in your everyday pipeline, right?
Yeah.
You know, there's things that help you. I mean, we all have had spell checkers for years, but now using Grammarly, if you ever heard of that,
Hmm.
it's a great tool that's infused AI that's been around for the last 10 years or so,
Right.
helping a lot of you write emails in terms of like doing the right punctuation and all that stuff. I know it helps
And
me out with this,
autocorrect, you
and
know?
autocorrect and all that stuff, and the
Yeah.
stuff you've been using on your iPhone when it like tries to put in the word for you. That is all a form of AI that's already been here for a while.
Yeah.
I like a lot of those tools, and to artists and designers about those types of tools that can help. Now, there are tools now, even with Grammarly, where it can totally take over and write a new sentence for you. And that's where you really have to go in there and not just say, okay, this sounds good, because you might sound like an automated telemarketing robot,
Yeah.
in your
Yeah.
email. It still needs to be, as my other artist buddy put it, it still needs to be your voice, right? How you talk.
Hmm.
Charlie talks a certain way, and everybody knows how I talk. So that might not always be the best way to talk in an email, but having a heightened version of that can succinctly put together a thought is what I'm going for, and not a perfect dissertation on like by me just trying to figure out if you're going to get coffee with me tomorrow.
Right.
Like you have to still go in there and put the work in, like we've always used to say on
Yeah.
past episodes in our podcast back in the day and stuff like that. Putting the work in is the biggest deal. So like using it just the correct grammar and still your voice is the best way, instead of always just hitting reset and seeing if you like what gets spit out. And even if you do like what gets spit out, let's say in cover letters and other things like that, I still find myself rewriting whole paragraphs within that and saying, no, it's really, this is what I'm trying to say. This is
Yeah.
what I want to do. And I think using it that way and using tools like that, is really good too. And people should look into that, or not, and not just look into the generative stuff.
And I think how easy we forget how, and I'm not, again, I think the way that we handle AI going forward is going to let us know if it's going to be a problem or not. But especially a lot of us artists, we have a tendency to forget that all of these do-it-yourself websites out here, like shout out Squarespace, and even my website right now is hosted on the Adobe servers because of Creative Cloud. I think they give you like 5 web pages that you can have.
Yeah, same.
You know,
I have a Adobe Folio
right?
um website also. Yep.
And that's a lot of work that went away from web designers.
Hmm.
You know, so
And I see
it's
a lot of web designers using it now and just using the
yeah,
platform, and then infusing their design, in it, and being able to
right.
push. There's another new web service that I can't remember what it is. It's not. I keep wanting to say Canva, but I don't think that's what it is. But
Yeah, and
uh,
Canva, if anything,
that's a
Canva has
different
been a problem.
one. Yeah, so
You
there's a
know,
lot of
and shout
those
out to
new
Canva
Web three
too,
tools.
because like
Yeah,
it comes in handy. Because not for anything, but when you are an independent creative solution for people, a lot of that work gets pulled away by Canva because everyone thinks that they're a designer and everyone thinks that they know color theory and all that stuff.
yeah.
And I mean, if that's how you want your stuff to work, that's how you want your stuff to work then, or
Mhm.
look, you know.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure. For sure. And what's the other one before Squarespace? When remember Joomla templates and all those things, and like
Joomla and
and
WordPress.
WordPress and all those things.
Yeah.
But now they are all getting confused, getting infused with AI and stuff like that to make it even more automated. But like that was kind of like the start of like the template based things and stuff like that. Where some designers would argue that they're having the same problems on that side, not necessarily with them, but like with like the residual effects of them being now so easily attainable.
Yeah.
and easier to do because at one point you couldn't do a WordPress site. It was kind of confusing, right? It was like you had to like hire a designer to figure it out. And then in some instances, I still see designers, using these different tools for artists because they don't want to do it themselves,
Yeah.
or companies, yeah.
Yeah. And I know for a fact that like if you're running a company, the faster you can get something done, the more money you make. And
Right,
that's
right.
what and that's what companies are built for.
The other one was Webflow. I was thinking of Webflow.
Webflow. And there was
Hmm.
another one. There was another website. Um, I can't remember what it is. Something like not The Circle. That's the show on Netflix, but something like that. The Frame or something like that, where you basically you just submit all of your artwork or all of your photographs or whatever, and then it would build the website off of the content
Framer,
that you put in
Framer,
Framer.
Framer. You're talking about Framer.
Yeah.
The internet's your canvas is their slogan. Framer is where teams design and publish stunning sites. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's another version, kind of like a Webflow. But the cool part about that is some of these tools have AI infused in them to help automate some processes, not take away, but these basically become online editors where we used to have software to run on our computers to do these different things. These new types of like sites like this, like Framer and Webflow, it's basically these elaborate editors that allow you to be online or you can download them offline too. It's just interesting also.
Huh.
Hmm.
Yeah. Um, I watched a video yesterday. Um, what's his name? Louis Rossmann, I think it is.
Okay, yeah,
Um, he went all the way off on Adobe
yeah.
and was explaining things in a way where and I when it comes to this technology stuff, like I do a lot of research and I try to get as many people's point of view when it comes to this stuff. And the point he was making with, and if you haven't heard yet, Adobe has new terms where they force you to accept the terms, and if you don't, you lose access to Creative Cloud.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And
That's
then
too much.
and then in the terms, it basically breaks down that you know how everything gets saved to Creative Cloud and blah blah blah.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
they're saying that they can go through and scrape your content and use it to train their AI,
Yeah.
right?
So now they're going
And
in there and
the
taking people's artwork.
and the example that Lewis was giving, he said that's kind of like so Lewis, if you don't know, he's a YouTuber, but his main business is fixing computers, and
Hmm.
he's a huge proponent on if I pay you money for this phone, it's my phone, and I can repair it, and that's called the
Gotcha.
right to repair type of stuff, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
You know, we take it for granted that we have a phone and then we kind of want to do things. And there's people that want to do things to their phone. Like if the screen comes off, there's some techie people that
Hmm.
want to take the screen off themselves and
I've
send
watched
them
some of
off to
those. It
whoever,
looks
whatever.
very satisfying.
Yeah, it's very, very cool.
Yeah,
It's like geeky ASMR.
right. I didn't know it was so quick. I didn't know they can do it so quickly too. I watched it in real time. It's like this
Yeah,
is
yeah.
yeah,
So anyway, that's his business, right? And he
right,
says he made the equivalency to the Adobe thing is like saying, okay, so there's another computer repair shop down the street, and I don't care if they have access to something that I'm putting on my website that's for personal for public
right.
consumption. He
Hmm.
said, but what Adobe is doing is basically this his competitor not only comes into the store, but also goes into his filing cabinet and starts taking all of his
Like
business
oh, it's like
secrets
this is how
from
you
the
made
filing
it.
cabinet.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
and I think that that's number one. Adobe, that's way too far.
Yeah.
And honestly, for me, that's enough of a shot, not directly to me because I know my skill level and I know where I am. Blah 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 blah. So I don't think that anyone is going to be like draw this picture in Carlos Gomez's style.
But it even goes farther than that. It just be like the way you draw yours may be may help in in the algorithm. So that's the biggest thing. I think
Yeah,
it's all data. It all will help in some sort of way. So,
right.
not even if
Yeah,
it's
and
the best
especially
picture
if
in
you
the world.
match up with
Yeah.
different. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So it's like it doesn't matter what it is. So it's
yeah,
more so you would think of it like if all of the 3D work that I've ever done in Max or Maya was able and Autodesk said, hey, we're going to use your work and scrape the data, and
yeah,
you have to say yes in order to use Max or Maya. So that like every company right now that uses those two programs or Blender or Cinema 4D, anytime it's just going to be taking snapshots of your mid partway through final images. Oh, you hit render here. Let me take two snapshots, one for you, one for me. That's what it sounds like.
yeah,
And when I put it like that, even me think of it right now, that is crazy. So you could have like basically beginning. It's like when you like one of the programs we talk about today. You could do time lapses, right?
yeah,
From the beginning of the project all the way to the end of it. This is what one of the AI projects. So it's like them doing the same thing in Adobe Photoshop or Illustrator or any of the programs and be able to just take snapshots of your whole process and then be like, yeah, that's a cool how to make a character, or that's a cool how to design a logo.
yeah,
Let's throw it into our algorithm, and that's going to strengthen our algorithm when somebody says make hockey logo in the style of, you know, the NBA Lakers.
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
oh, you know what I'm saying? It's taking because you don't know how they're taking screenshots, you don't know how
Right.
they're scraping the data, but they could be just memorizing thousands and thousands of hours of like process
Yeah.
keystrokes, or like, screenshots from the uh from the viewport,
That's a really good point because like if someone says uh hey Photoshop make me a picture of a guy standing in the rain, it might not necessarily give that person my style of cartooning, but then when they say no, a little more cartoony and they reference the artwork that they basically took from me to draw the hands that way or to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's where it gets really
Thousands and hundreds
crazy.
of thousands and millions of hours of artists artwork, right? Illustration in Photoshop. Thousands and hundreds of thousands of hours of every photographer on the planet that was looking at their proofs through Photoshop when they brought him in through Lightroom or whatever of a guy standing on a beach, you know,
Yeah.
wedding photos, graduation photos, spring break photos, good and bad out there. Photos, every time somebody's on a beach standing at sunset and they've used Photoshop or one even potentially, they will scrape that. So they don't need the internet anymore. Everybody's worried about the data set that happened when AI came out, and it's a certain set of data set when they just scrape the internet.
Yeah.
This potentially is the bigger than that because it's anytime you don't need, you can say we got rid of all that data set. Adobe can say that, which they've done already because I think they own Shutterstock, so they really don't need to do this.
Yeah.
You know, they really don't, but they find a way to enhance. They're trying to find a way to enhance the royalty free one they already have,
Yeah.
which is just their user base. So anytime anybody's ever put anything into hit open or import into that program, now they would be able to take it if that's how they're using this.
Yeah.
Now, this is me speculating how Adobe's going to do it, but it seems to be like they would just take time steps, even if it's like they once a month they took, during the monthly update they took a swatch of whatever you did, 40% of what you use in Photoshop to put into that database, times that by 100,000 users.
Yeah.
you know you have a pretty strong database this time next year, after they parse out the bad with the good.
Yeah.
It's like it seems to be it seems to be crazy. So with that, I would say that's too far. I wouldn't want that either,
Yeah.
and like it's time to open up Inkscape or some of these other tools that are just
You
like
know
it,
what I'm
you know,
saying? Like
and say, hey, buy that one time perpetual license for it And there's a couple other ones. What's the other one? I just said Inkscape, but what's the other one that I can't think of right now? My buddy Ryan uses it all the time.
Isn't the what like Manga Studio or whatever?
No, this is even though
Oh,
they
Studio
have a
Paint is it's rebranding, but
yeah. It's
that's a
like it has. I
there
can't remember what it
are
is.
alternatives.
There's a lot. There's a good one which has a vector and a Photoshop version.
Oh, I have
Um, and
um
it's a one time fee also.
um yeah,
Affinity,
Affinity
Affinity,
Designer. Yep. I
Affinity,
have that on
Affinity.
my
Yeah,
iPad.
yep. And they have Infinity has both vector and whatever.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah,
think
and
it just got
if
bought
you're
out.
watching this and you're starting to take a look at like alternatives to
Affinity is the
um
probably the best one I would say out
Affinity, yeah,
there.
I have Affinity Designer and it is a lot of fun. You can do both vector and uh pixel art
And then they have
combining
a
it.
Affinity Photo for the Photoshop
And
version
then
of it.
yeah, Affinity Photo for that too.
And for you
Um
iPad users, there is a version on the iPad also.
um and then for example, like I've been like shopping around and testing things out just in case something like this happened.
Hmm.
Just in case, because number one, when I understand why Adobe went Creative Cloud, because when they were selling things on CDs, they were getting they were getting pirated.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I understand that part, and I understand having to pay a solid price for something. If you think
Yeah.
about what Creative Cloud does, it is actually very, very helpful. The
Hmm.
fact that you can start something on your computer and then take your iPad and you're off and you can do it, and they have Photoshop and Illustrator and everything saves to the cloud. It's very, very cool, very, very seamless,
Convenient is the word. Yeah.
convenient, exactly. So I
Yeah.
understand that.
Hmm.
I understand having to pay the price for that convenience. But now my problem begins to become a problem when you, as a corporation, are um, you're basically killing your customer base.
Yeah.
You're number one, you priced out a lot of people, and number two, now you're taking their artwork without their permission. You're just helping yourself. And if you, I'm gonna leave myself a note to
What's up?
leave um, a link to that Lewis Rossmann video
Oh yeah, that'd be a good one. Lincoln. Yeah.
because it was really good.
Hmm.
He went in. He called them YouTube flags things, but um, called Adobe someone who forcefully helps themselves to someone else's body. You know what I mean?
Oh, dang, you went in.
He went in.
Wow.
Yeah. Um, anyway, all that to say,
That's a little far though.
when I
I think
was
that's a little spicy.
when I was looking around, like I had noticed,
Crazy.
if you guys remember, this is probably like creative conspiracy theory, but
Mm-hmm.
a few years ago, 2016, 2017,
Hmm.
Adobe spent so much money on a business solution company. They absorbed or they bought a business solution company. And by that I mean
Okay.
something like Salesforce.
Okay.
And if you don't know, Salesforce is basically customer retention software. You can keep track of your customers, their contact information, and personal information too. Like if you have a relationship and maybe, you know, you're talking to Miss Jones from Indiana and Miss Jones had a baby 3 months ago. You maybe want to remember that and either make a call or send an email or send a present or anything like that. You know what I mean? So
Right.
Salesforce helps you control and keep track of all of this stuff.
Gotcha. Hmm.
So Adobe bought something very similar to that. And my theory is this: they don't really, this is going to come off heavy-handed, but it is what it is. I don't know if Adobe cares enough about the creative community when the business community can make them way more money. right?
Yeah.
So imagine being a business owner, you buy into the business solution part of it. So now you have a website that's incorporated into your Creative Cloud, and then you have your customer retention software that's keeping track of your business stuff.
Yeah.
Now, if you wanted to then um, create an ad, now you don't have to hire anyone. It's all part of your package. You click a button, you say, "Hey, I wanna, if I'm selling shoes, hey, can you? I'm gonna take a picture of my shoe, put that up there. Can you add some lightning bolts and a
Yeah.
cloud full of little red hearts?
Mhm.
They're the business side of things is becoming very optimized from the point of view of the business owner.
Right. Right. That makes sense.
That's what I think is happening. I don't know if, like, once AI really kicks in and this creative stuff is really humming, and I know everyone's like, "Oh, the hands have five, 6 fingers." Yeah, they used to have 6 fingers. Now these hands are coming in real nice now.
Yeah.
And they're
Yeah.
actually making like amazing videos, you know?
I think
Um,
artistry had become a little bit more boutique at that point because things go in ebb and flows, right? Because
mhm.
everything still you can still tell what an AI something looks like AI, and it's kind of has its weird stale feeling. Even with agencies and graphic design and commercials and stuff. So there's going to be something that's going to happen where it's going to be like, "Ooh, that's scary. It looks too good." But at times, I still think in terms of artistry, that's going to become more of a premium, maybe. If
Yeah.
if not because artists are still art, right? And it's still going to come out with something that just looks really good. And I think the one thing that's not known yet is like how is the metrics in terms of like what is the actual return? Because obviously businesses are going to business, right? They're going to sit there and like jump on the newest thing because it's quick and it's going to save them money. But then is that going to bring in clients and customers? I think we'll find pretty quickly, even if it's saving you money, is it saving you money at the expense of making your company look cheap and at the same time
Yeah.
unappealing after a while, after the craze hits off, because there's better ones to come out. Even if you have the best AI you could think of or generative like pipeline, I'll start to use the word pipeline better, in
Yeah.
terms of like how you integrate it into your business,
Yeah.
you know. Is it gonna help you or is it gonna make you look like when we see a cheesy, you know, sign in at a grocery store that's just kind of like ew, or that somebody did that sign themselves and put it up in the window, even
Right.
if they got it printed at the local print shop, you're like, oh, this the design looks really bad. Is it gonna really help? And I think that the biggest thing is they don't know that's the gamble, just like people have gambled with the job force right now, and they're gonna find that I say hopefully in 2 or 3 months to 6 months is going to be like, oh, we need to hire people to do these things again, because we let everybody go. Like I think hopefully it comes back in ebbs and flows like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
And this is I guess this is like coaching for the creative people. Um, Creative folks need to get into the business of being a business like that.
right. That's the biggest thing.
Unfortunately, that is the way that the United States has been set up. They want you to start businesses, they want you to have a small business. And I mean, I know a lot of that is like all fluff and silly stuff because they're trying to get you to start a business so then they can say, oh, look, we have so many new businesses every time someone runs for president. But you need to have that mindset. Like, uh, take business classes or watch business classes on YouTube and understand that that's the way that things are run. That's the way that things, unless something big happens, that is the way that things will continue to be. So you need to start thinking of it that way. Like, businesses don't care about your let me say, most businesses don't care. Well, most businesses aren't people, so they don't have feelings. So their main concern is making money. If you want to survive doing artwork, you also need to take that same mentality and you need to charge an appropriate price and don't do the work until someone makes a deposit and like
Right.
and one of the big ones is like I don't understand why people do this, but like I don't do favors anymore. When it comes to the thing that I get paid to do, when it comes to art, making videos and stuff like that, you have to give me money. You have to. Otherwise, I'm busy editing videos and making drawings for
Mhm.
myself, right?
Yep. Hmm.
Um, I don't think that there's anyone else. Like, there's not a lawyer, not a plumber, no one of those people. All those business people that ask you to do things on a favor,
I was like, nope.
ask them to do you a favor first and then see
Hmm.
where that goes.
I get that with because I've been doing a little streaming and my own stream and gaming and stuff like that. So, but I'm always networking, so I talk to a lot of other content creators, and they're like, "Hey, can you make me a such and such, character? I'm looking to do myself, but in the style of that." He even said in the style of. I was like, it sounds like a prompt, but like it's how people say it all the time. I need a Disney looking character, but it's not Disney. But I want it to be me, or something like that. And it's for his channel or whatever, or for their channel, for her channel.
Yeah.
And like I'm like, nah, like you don't want me to do it because like you won't be able to afford it. Because if I'm gonna charge you correctly for it, I mean we're cool, but like at the same time, like you might need to look up how to do this and this. Maybe you can do it yourself. you know,
And
maybe you can
that's
figure out how to go do AI to make something for you or something.
and
I
that's
say
where
everything because I can because I too expensive, which is the scary part with the go have AI do it. But like I'm saying, hey, you're not a creative at all.
right.
So like and I don't think any artist is gonna well, shouldn't yell at you for having to they can't pay said artists, and they're trying to figure out how to do something themselves.
Yeah.
Then go find a tool that you can use. You can do it yourself and then make it, So like
Right.
because you know, asking somebody to do it for free is the wrong thing. Having them research and go learn how to do something puts them on the right path to be able to do it themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to
You
say
know?
something. I'm trying to remember what it was. It was along those lines. Um, that's uh, that's where the benefit of AI comes in for the creative person, right? So uh, there's people that want something done fast, cheap,
Mm-hmm.
and good, which
Right.
is it's the old way of or the old analogy is you have a three-legged stool. You can only have you that's the wrong analogy. It's a circle, um, and you can only pick two,
Oh, okay.
right? I forget what the analogy
And it'd
is,
be
but
oh, like that's the I remember what it is. I don't remember
you
what it is, but
get
it's
it
like is it fast and
fast,
cheap?
cheap, and good, right?
Good.
But you
Yeah.
can only pick two. You can only
Right.
either have it fast and cheap, it's not going to be good. You can have
Yeah.
it
Right.
good and fast, but it's not going to be cheap, right?
Right.
So
Hmm.
that
That's
that's
good.
the
Yeah.
conversation, right? You can only pick two, right? So
Hmm.
now AI is actually opening up the possibility of having fast, cheap, and good.
Hmm. Which I can see why that's why artists are scared.
Right, but no, the point is like this is where the artist can leverage AI because like you said there's a lot of people out there that don't even know how to get to
Yeah.
AI,
I
let
end up
alone
showing yeah,
creating things.
yeah. I end up showing somebody how to use that for his. I went and
Yeah.
found the one that I thought was more ethically sourced data. And I showed him that tool set and said, you could do this. I said, you'll probably have to pay for it because my version of it, I have it from having it from way back. And I tested this already, but here's what it is. You could try it out, and if you're able to like get what you really want, because that's a weird style. I think he wanted something in the style of Scott Pilgrim, that style,
Oh yeah,
but him. And I was like, well, if you look at you know you know, outside of copying it, which I wouldn't say do that either, because that's bad. It's just this is gonna be a dark version of Scott Pilgrim. But like if you try to really make a caricature of yourself was what it sounds like you want, make a character of yourself, feed the algorithm your own 100 pictures of yourself,
yeah,
and it's just you, and then feed it, and then start to see what you get from it. And then sometimes you're not going to get far, but you do know Photoshop, you do know these different things. Then take that image into Photoshop of yourself and manipulate it even more. You might need to paint over it. Here's how you can paint over it. Here's how you
yeah,
can like draw over this, and you can get you something pretty quick,
yeah,
within the evening. So your version of quick is you putting in maybe a day's worth of work, 8 hours
yeah.
to get something relatively decent that'll probably look cool to you. Um, or you can go pay someone like myself or another illustrator, even better than me, that illustrates, and you can pay them, you know, 500-600 bucks for his or her time, and say, just give me something that at at the rate of $600 for a character of myself. Here's all photos of myself, and can you do it in a day? And whatever once you hit your 8 hour mark, you know, or a 6 hour mark, $100 an hour,
Yeah.
stop and then give me what that is, and I'll take it from there. You could do that too, or
Yeah.
whatever I get after 3 hours, $100 an hour.
Yeah.
And then I'll take it from there. I told him you could do this because you have skill to do it. You have some graphic design, so you have skill. You
Hmm.
just need somebody to give you a base, but at least you're paying somebody for their time. Or you can try this
Right.
other way. It's probably gonna take you longer to get to that cool base, but
Yeah.
it's you putting the work in.
And I think too, like there is, I've been talking to Jack about this stuff pretty
Mm-hmm.
much nonstop because
Good old Jack.
Hollywood is getting crazy on this stuff too. But
I bet.
I just found the Lewis Rossmann video. It's called
Perfect.
Adobe roofies all of their customers.
Jesus. Keep going in.
um, anyway, and yeah, I'm gonna talk to Jack because he's like in the front lines of the Hollywood
Mm-hmm.
point of view. So I'm gonna see about having him come on and talk, doing one of these talks too. But um, that could be one of the ways where it makes um, fast, cheap, good a little more achievable is by using that. And exactly like you said, like you can talk to someone about what they're looking for, and you can use AI to give you the rough sketch. Because
Yeah.
a lot of what people don't understand it with when you're making art is when you start to make art, there's a ramp up period. You know, you have to do your warm up sketches. You have to draw circles with the little crosshairs on there and do all that stuff and then figure it out. And then you go back to the customer and you say, "Hey, how about this?" And then they're like, "No, no, 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 no," right? And
Mm-hmm.
then you make, and it's a conversation that I always tell my clients that I am trying to pull out of your brain something that you want to see, something that you are going to be proud of.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So out of through this conversation, that is how I'm trying to do that. But
Mm-hmm.
then I have to go to the literal drawing board and come up with a bunch of ideas and then
Mm-hmm.
come back to you, and by that time, depending on your budget, we might be done.
And I see it as like, I said this early on to another creative director buddy of mine when it was first coming out, back when it was just using Google Colab, which is kind of like GitHub, but
Mhm.
Google's version of it. And a lot of the AI was on there early on. Like, and this is like 2.5 years ago now, where like you would download these different collabs, and then there'd be a line of code that would happen, and you could start doing the text image. But I equivalent a lot of this of how do you can use AI not in production, but more so in pre-production,
Mhm.
is one of my ideas of how I can use it. And some may disagree, but I think the way artists use Pinterest, and for years, for those of you guys who remember me from Sketch Zone, how I champion Pinterest, and my Pinterest is still amazing, just so you know. But how they champion Pinterest, how I champion Pinterest, and others have for like inspiration and or how people use Behance in the in the agency and graphic design world,
Sure.
and how they use that to look for new artists and look for new ideas and stuff like that. And I have many different Pinterest boards, different things. I think that's one of the good, cool ways you can use it early on, right? In
Yeah.
terms of not setting expectations, because I would never throw that in front of a client till I've done some manipulation to it to make sure you can actually achieve what you're showing. Because that's the things that I think people are doing wrong now is they'll do something and then show it to the client, and now you're stuck, you know, in an impossible ask because you showed them something that you might not be able to recreate,
Right.
based off how you generated it. But in terms of just quick fire, like rapid iterations, right? Kind of similar to how they do it in product design and visualization for those type of industries, of like many different sketches, many different iterations of color schemes and stuff like that. That can happen on the level of using AI. Some of the stuff never going to make it to the actual, uh, final client's going to see it, but it's going to help you inform your teams or yourself to like get you in a direction, right? Even if
Yeah.
it's like, ruins on a beach, right? Like in just different types, because you know someone still has to explain to me how it's different. And I've seen agencies do this, and I've seen other artists do this of like, oh, I needed to make it look like this major shoe company's ad, or this other major shoe company's ad, or this major ball team. They did this on Monday Night Football. It looked really cool. And then like I've seen creative directors and art directors and people online on LinkedIn use these. Oh, I did this in this style. Or I've seen students come out of school, do this in this style, and even senior level people. Oh, I was trying to invoke this Star Wars type of style of this,
Mm-hmm.
this, and it's their own stuff. But at the same time, a lot of some of the stuff we see is kind of like, clones of other people's stuff. Or if you use ArtStation, you see a cool thing on ArtStation, they use that as one of their references in PureRef, and like,
Mm.
how about if you do some research on a tool that is ethically sourced, and then generate a bunch of versions of an idea, and then you kind of have it and it's just your like mood board.
Yeah.
Then you go and do your own thing based off of some of the ideas you found.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I think that's a good way of using it. And then come up with your own look based off of that. And then maybe now you're back to the photoshopping and the kit bashing and pulling and cutting things up to come up with your own concept image off of your like referencing session, design discovery sessions. Yeah, through using some certain AI tools. I think that could be a good way of using it in the
Yeah.
pre-production phase.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. If you're using AI for post production and delivery, you're doing it wrong. That's the wrong answer. The creative community will not like that, and rightfully so. Um, as a matter of fact, when Firefly, Adobe Firefly. So for those that don't know, Adobe's AI engine is called Firefly, um, or image creation AI is called Firefly. Anyway, all that to say, when they first came out, you could type out a word and then you can describe what you want that word to look like, and if you wanted to make it made out of balloons or candy or whatever, right? So I was doing some of that stuff, and I got my sister runs a bar in Chicago, and she reached out. She wanted to have something like that, but to put on T-shirts. And I said, "Yeah, I can do that real quick." But like, it's kind of like this is the funny part, is I had to explain to her how the artwork being created off of the artwork that was trained by other people's artwork was copyrighted. So I could make this for you, but it's copyrighted. And then if I designed it for you, it'd be cool, but like, do you have a few weeks to wait? Or do you have a few weeks worth of salary to make, or to give? And so things just get really, really strange. especially especially when software that basically stole people's artwork to train itself how to draw then says you can't take my artwork because it's copyrighted. Like it gets so wacky.
Yeah, and just to be clear though, I remember though, even with at least with Firefly, not a lot of the other ones. Not talking like, well, I can't speak to Midjourney or Dolly or some of the other ones that are out there, but at least with Firefly, and I know what they're doing with Leonardo the AI, but with Firefly, Firefly's data set is based off of Shutterstock.
Mm-hmm.
It's Adobe owns Shutterstock. So technically, from that
And
point, for
Adobe stock too.
and Adobe stock. So
But
for
yeah,
Adobe to be able to have Firefly, technically you could make something and you'd be fine
yeah,
because all that stuff
off
was
that.
like image source based off of stock photography, stock whatever. They didn't scrape anything. They didn't use the data set. Like let's see, like the Wild Wild West would be like Midjourney.
Yeah.
And some of these other online based ones that you don't really know where they got it from because there's a core data set of the internet that they scraped that
Mm-hmm.
everybody uses. It's got a big long number. If you get into the actual lawsuits and stuff like that, there's a certain data set number that you know Stable Diffusion as well as Mid Journey uses, which is why it's so messed up for them at least.
Yeah.
And you even have to look into Chat GPT in terms of if you use Chat GPT's image based generator because they have one in there too. That I think is a version of Stable Diffusion, if I'm not mistaken, but you have to look into that. So do your research on that. But
Yeah.
since you pay for Adobe, Arrow who's using Adobe, Firefly one is trained off of like, you know, their own stock that they have. The big deal now is they're just trying to tell you that hey, because you're using our products, that we want to train off of that
You
stuff
have
too,
to you have to
just so you know.
participate in the
And everybody's
matrix.
and everybody's like, wait, oh, wait a minute, you know, and because they're telling you they're that's legally right. Also, it's just when people looked into it, like, oh, okay, cool. I'll just opt out of that. I don't want you to use mine. And they're like, wait a minute, I can't opt out of
Yeah.
it.
And
And
the
that's the
business
biggest deal.
decision behind
Yeah.
that is if you are creating AI, you need to have constant updated information, whether
Because you're
it's
outdated. Yeah, you'll be outdated.
yeah, whether it's off of the internet and like you're reading paragraphs and stuff like that and you're training your AI off of written material or like what Adobe is doing is they're training their stuff off of visual material.
Right. And
But
at that point,
you have to keep feeding that beast.
right. And all that stuff is even from when AI started. All that data set's outdated. Like the data set was like pre-pandemic data set and 2, 3 years before that. So it's pretty old. The internet is very different than what it is now than what it used to be. So they
Yeah.
have that's what they're trying to find a new ways probably to update their data set. Similar to there's other places that are using, clean data, if you will.
Yeah.
And I have just for you, Carlos, I think just based off our talk today, 4 or 5 ones that I'll say to look at that I know the data set's pretty clean, and the way they're using their AI is pro artist. I think that's another term. Pro artist when in
Yeah.
their things. So we could talk about that too and give off those two. Some of them are just like pipeline things. Other ones, my main one that I like the most, is the best way in my opinion, you should be using it. And that's starting off with a sketch that you create,
Yeah.
by hand,
Yeah.
or imagery that you feed it by hand. So
Yeah.
it can replicate your sketch perfectly, or it can go crazy off into the wild, wild west with it, or you can keep it really close. It gives you the most control as an artist.
Yeah. And not for anything, but there's no reason not to do it that way. Like
Mm-hmm.
art has never been easier to create even without AI. I'm not even
Right.
talking AI.
Mm-hmm.
Art have me and my iPad, I am constantly drawing. I'm constantly writing. I'm constantly editing. When I mean constantly, like if my eyes are open, I
Mm-hmm.
am at
You're
work.
editing. Yeah.
I am
Mm-hmm.
at work.
Yep.
So, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
you just have to kind of keep doing you,
keep creating.
and
Yeah.
not for anything, but like the way I see it is this, and maybe we should start wrapping this up because I have no idea how long this video is.
Hmm.
Um, but the thing is this: the way I approach business is someone comes to me because they see some things that I have done and they like it, right? So then now I have to start a conversation with you to pull out of you what it is that you have going on in your head so I can help again, I can help create something that you are proud of. I want you to be happy. I want you to feel good about our our project together, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
That doesn't always necessarily like I love drawing cartoons, but not everyone ever wants a cartoon logo or they don't want a cartoon illustration. You know, if you're doing graphic design, it might be a little more of a realistic type of thing. I can go a little more realistic, but I like my soul is pulled to the cartoons, right? Um, and if I can find a way to more quickly get to that point, I'll take advantage of that. Whether it's a ruler, whether it's an iPad over a paper and pencil, anything that gets me to that point faster, it's better for everyone, right?
Yeah.
Then, when it comes to the actual delivery of whether it's a video or a logo or whatever it is, you get to make your final decisions to make it look good for you. And then you give me money to get my feelings out of the equation. If you
Yeah.
give me money because you want me to make you a cartoon or you want me to make you a painting or something like that, you give me that money, I'm going to go away and I'm going to come back with some stuff that I hope you like. There you are. There you have it. We're good.
Hmm.
But if it's in a business arrangement, you give me money to get my feelings out of the equation and
Yeah.
now you go on with your logo.
Right.
Hopefully I'm happy with it too cuz you know, it's going to end up on my portfolio and I don't want
You're
my
right.
portfolio full of trash.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's like
Yeah.
I understand like having to spend that much time on a project and that much time like trying to help someone develop their vision of whatever it is that they want. But that's why they give you money. They give you money to get out of the way, to get your
Right.
feelings out of the way. Like how are
Hmm.
you going to give me money and then I'm upset because you wanted to change the yellow? If you want it to
Yeah.
look like
It's a
McDonald's,
yeah.
it's going to look like McDonald's.
Yeah. It's trying to keep that client happy, right? So it's the bottom line.
Yeah. Money equals get your feelings out of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, let's start wrapping up. So, last question for you. What what do you think? Um, should we be afraid of AI or should we embrace it?
I think the better thing would be to learn how to understand it and use it. Learn how to use it for what you need it to be. That's the best thing. I don't think I don't. I'm not afraid of AI. I'm not afraid of any new technology.
Yeah.
Um, I get afraid of how business people will use it, but I think you need to understand AI. So the biggest thing is I don't think it's like don't ever look at it, hope it goes away, be vastly opposed to it. I think it's understand it like any other new tool set, see how you can use it in your creative pipeline. It's not the
Mm-hmm.
replacement of your pipeline, it's an enhancement. And use those that are enhanced and those that don't enhance and just basically do more everything for you, then don't use those. But I've seen so many artists that don't know anything about it, and rather they take the herd mentality of just saying it's bad. Um, that's not how I you have to understand technology in order to be able to counteract it or fight against it. And
Uh-huh.
once you understand it, find a find that technology you can use to be able to leverage your art um, for the better, so you stay relevant. My whole thing is to stay relevant as I get older, and not fade into the existence because I was so so opposed to how my industry is changing that I don't try to ride the wave,
Hmm.
so to speak, in order to be relevant. Because I do think it that true artistry needs to be created by humans for sure, and you need to be able to do that. But I also don't co-sign to the fact of just like ignoring it and trying to push to get it abolished completely. Because what, let's face it, when has that ever worked in our history of like
Ask
not being
Disney
able?
2D animators how that went for them.
Yeah, as those people who opposed using ZBrush back in the day instead of modeling it by hand.
Yeah,
Ask, you know, ask any person that like didn't update their way of like creating game art over the last couple of years and still tries to do it the old way. Like you
yeah,
always have to like upgrade and understand the new technology. So I say don't be afraid of it. I say understand it and then definitely hold people accountable, right? So
right.
by me saying all this is don't mean that I'm siding with Adobe or anybody else in terms of like taking away jobs or taking away freedoms, in creating the art that we've been using with all this different software. So hold people accountable for it, but the only way you can do that is if you know it and understand it, and not just I don't like it.
Right.
Let's put a hashtag no AI on my thing. No, don't do any of that. That's not the answer. I like all the artists that actually went out, went to legislation, talked in front of
Yeah,
the Hill, talked in front of Congress.
yeah,
That because they understood it. They understand what was happening to their art and how to and fix it. I think more artists need to be proactive like that and
yeah.
say, hey, what are you doing here? This is not what we want, and then take your money elsewhere, right? So if you
100%.
really don't like it, I understand business that gets harder at work, but we're artists. We know how to use stuff. We know how to use other things.
Yeah,
Use it.
right.
They'll see a decline.
Yeah,
They'll see a decline in their numbers, and they'll change it, and they'll put the opt-in button because they'll say that the
right.
money it costs to put the opt-in so that it can segregate its user base to those who don't care, agencies or other places that use it normally and they don't really care if they're using artists to the hardcore creative industry that do care. Boom. So if a company wants to do 50% of its user base or 40% of its user base with that new data set, your data set's still getting updated.
Yeah,
The other 80, 70, whatever percentage that didn't want it, cool. That's how you keep it happy. But you're not going to do that unless you actually put boots to the ground and say, hey, I'm just going to go use this program instead for a while,
right,
and see if they change.
right.
So that's my thinking of it.
Yeah, yeah. I, I think we're at the similar wavelength because I'm like that too. Like people are going to use it, and even if you don't use it, um, there's someone's going to replace you. Period. Again, talk to 2D animators that used to work at Disney when 3D started coming around. You know, take a look at illustrators when photography came around. Take a look at blacksmiths when cars came around. Like it's moving forward and it's going to continue to move forward. So now the thing is like what are you going to do? Are you going to learn how to leverage it and then optimize your time? My suggestion is learn AI, learn how to optimize and make everything more efficient. And then with the time that you have available, go out and get some business classes, some elementary business classes, some introductory business classes, because I think the art community in general, we are so scared of business and stuff like that, and we accept terms of use and we accept job offers and stuff like that and all the paperwork that comes with that. Meanwhile, we also have the opportunity to make changes to all of those contracts. We just do. Everything is negotiable. Everything. So to stand here and think just because that person there has a key to the office doesn't mean that we don't get to be a part of the negotiations. That's not the case. Like
Mhm.
get well versed in how business works and become comfortable with the fact that there are people out there that will legit lay you off if you become if you come in between them and their money.
Mhm. Yeah.
That's just how it works.
Mhm.
AI didn't pop up because they really liked having a room full of artists. That's
Mhm.
not the case.
Right.
So, and they're not going to take it away. It's just way too convenient,
Yeah.
you know? So, um, that that's kind of it for me. Like,
Yeah.
again, don't be afraid. Just get 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 well versed in business and do that.
Mhm. Mhm.
Because it's the fact that big companies say things and we roll over, and we've been rolling over for since forever.
Mhm.
They're used to it. Whereas, look at what's happening in Hollywood, where the actors went on strike, the writers went on strike, and all that stuff. And what they ended up saying was, let's wait them out. They'll stop that when they can't pay their rent. You don't think business owners like that talk like that? You think that they have your best interest in mind? You
And
better.
meanwhile, yeah, just and then like that's why you see so many artists like mobilizing and doing. I think all that stuff is coming out of this is really good, but just follow through with it. Then
Right.
if you really want that, then
If
don't
the
use
culture
these
is moving towards
programs.
AI, create a counterculture.
Yeah,
And
and
then
it's
let's
similar to
see.
what they did with the art station in the car, right? So this will be one of the things I would say. Just for a couple of things you guys should go look up, right? Look up viscom.ai. That's a good one to look up that uses your actual sketch, and it goes from there. You have full control, so you can check that out. That's pretty cool. It's a pretty good one. In terms of if you're looking for a better way of protecting your art, go over to Cara, um,
CARA. I think it's
B
CARA
A
dot app or something like
R
that.
A dot app, Cara dot app. That's a
ADB.
whole new, yep, that's a whole new website devoted to. It's like an art station, but it's
And that's
AI
for
AI
another
free.
conversation too.
Yes, AI free. They're gonna scan your art after you put it up and knows if it has AI in it, so that it's a safe haven for artists. But what I'm saying is not just go set up your profile and let history repeat itself like we did with ArtStation 5, 10 years ago, however long ArtStation's been around, and everybody was doing that because the last site that was up before ArtStation, was doing some crazy stuff, and then all of a sudden ArtStation popped up, and everybody's like, "There's our savior." This time, let's, as an artist, everyone, let's make sure that Kara doing everything it needs to do. And right now, I think the way Kara needs your support is you need to donate, right? So there's a donate link on there for you to donate. There's a way for you to actually like do a monthly subscription. Everybody needs to give some money because if this is a website that's gonna be our new Instagram, because it looks
Right.
great. I've been looking at it on my phone this morning, cycling through, and it feels like old school Instagram with nothing but artwork on there. That's great, but if you haven't given any money, I know not everybody right now, based off of everybody's looking for jobs and stuff like that. But if you have a job right now and you work at one of these big, huge game companies, if you work at one of these big, huge agencies, if you work at one of these big, huge movie houses, if you work at any other any other job that allows you to be creative and you're fine right now, and you should help all the rest of your artists out. And you should give two, three, $4, $5 a month or whatever, and let it
Yeah.
and turn it on for a couple months so that those people can figure out how they can handle 600,000 users in 1 week, and then next week that number is probably going to be even bigger, you know. If this site blows up because they can't handle the load of all the users that it has on it, because that costs money, servers cost money, all that stuff, and it goes away, then whose fault was it?
Right.
Was it the big companies, or was
Right.
it the artist community who wanted to do something for free? I'm hoping everybody gives, you know,
Yeah.
myself included,
That's
because I was looking at that today, and I really had to do a self check myself, and I was like, if this is really something that they're doing for everybody, and when I read that they're actually going to be scanning images and doing all this stuff, then like I said I should go ahead and, as they put it, buy Cara a cup of coffee. You could do $1, you could do You could do, what is it, $5, $15, $25,
And
or
what's funny is,
whatever price you want. That's perfect. That's some Patreon type stuff. That's awesome.
and
So
what, and
that's my rant.
and from what I understand, the
It's a
ironic
full
part,
portfolio site too. It's you can have your new portfolio right there,
well,
already
not
set up.
just that,
It'll
but
look
like the
nice.
company reject all, the company that actually makes Kara, I want to say, aren't they a coffee company? I think it was something like that. Bicara coffee. Maybe that's what I understood.
Oh, that's the Bicara coffee piece. That's the way they're doing their funding. I
Okay.
think they're saying like, "Oh, buy me a cup of coffee,"
Yeah,
but it's
yeah.
really like, you know.
I read an article. I just sent it to you on text
Oh,
that
okay.
said something. I don't know if it was talking about um, the article itself was
Hmm.
a coffee. I understood it as there was a coffee company that then um, invested in creating
Yeah.
Kara. But I
Well,
guess,
one of the starters also, she's been going through like she won a case where somebody was plagiarizing her work and stuff like that too. So so the some of the founders were like people that have like been fighting this good fight, like I said, boots on the ground,
nice.
and they decided to say, "Hey, let's make a place where we can all post our stuff up and it be safe."
Yeah.
All that good work and all the artwork that's up there so far is it's amazing, and it's all like AI free, and it feels old school. Like when you get an art book,
Yeah.
back in the day. I was talking about that before we started recording. It feels like that. So go out and support that.
Yeah.
Let's support so then that we can
C
protect all
A
ourselves.
CARA dot app. And I'm going to get a link, or I'm going to get a list of links for um, AI apps from Charlie that we can put it in the description of this video. We're going to link the Lewis Rossmann rant, which is very, very. I suggest you watch it.
Go
It's
watch that, please.
the way
Yep.
he broke it down is really cool. Anyway, with that,
Hmm.
hey Charlie,
Yeah.
if you want people to find you on social media, where can they find you?
You can find me on Kara. You can look up CBCG. I'm on there. You can find me on my website, charliebwilliams.com. It's brand new. Well, not brand new, but it's a brand new updated over the last couple months. It's got a lot of the new fresh work that I've done. You can find me on LinkedIn, Charlie B. Williams the third. Look me up. I'm right there on LinkedIn, and it shows my background there. But yeah, charliebwilliams.com, CBCG on Kara. Those are the best places to find me.
Excellent, thank you, sir.
Thank you
Um,
so much.
and you guys know me, coconut justice everywhere. And if you're watching this, please make sure that you like, share, subscribe. Again, I'm gonna have Charlie come back on because there's more things that we need to talk about,
Sure. Yeah.
more art technology stuff. But yeah, I'm going to be reaching out to more people like Jack and a lot of other people that I know in the industry to get their take on this stuff too, because I know that the stuff gets pretty wacky pretty quick. And yeah, we'll get through it together.
Yeah.
That's we always have, we always will. And with that, you guys have a wonderful time. See you later.
Everybody. Peace.
And with that, I'm out.